Hi there, everyone, and welcome to the Athlete Cafe.
Hi guys, I'm Carly, former collegiate lacrosse player.
I'm Abby, former gymnast and collegiate dancer.
I'm Frances, former collegiate track athlete.
And I'm Emily, former collegiate volleyball player. Let's get into today's topics and see what's on the menu.
Large cappuccino. Orders up.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Athlete Cafe.
Welcome back.
What's up?
What's up?
Happy Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Friday, right? I feel like all my days are just jumbled.
After the holidays, I feel like January is like a blur.
It
The
also
holidays?
flew by.
See, I felt like in the moment it was going so slow, but today was the 26th?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it did go kind of fast, I guess. Which is a good thing. I hate January, to be honhonest.
You know what I'm excited for? February. Do you guys know
Can I
why?
know why?
Super Bowl?
Why? Oh my gosh.
Super
My
Bowl.
birthday.
Oh,
Carly loves
Super
her
Bowl.
birthday.
It's my birthday. No one cares about
Brayden
the Super
loves
Bowl.
the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Oh man. Good
Who do we
stuff.
think is going to be in the Super Bowl? We're recording this before the
Before.
what are the games this weekend?
yeah, you have Baltimore and Kansas City. You got the 49ers and the Lions.
Down in
So
the Final
Yeah.
Four.
I'm calling color match, like the colors of what they have, the Super Bowl logo. So I'm saying Ravens, 49ers.
All right.
That's
We
my
predict
All
it.
right.
That's my
we'll
bet.
see.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but I want Detroit to be in there.
Me
It'd be
too.
cool. It'd be cool to see
Yeah.
The
Detroit.
Lions.
Lions and the
Oh,
Ravens.
the Browns. are out.
Animals, you know?
I do.
Well, yeah,
Francis goes, you know how cute it would be to have, what do you say,
A
a little
lion
lion and a raven against each
With
other?
that.
That's what she thinks about when it comes to football is the mascots.
I'm the wizard when it comes to football.
that is accurate.
Oh,
Good stuff.
that'll be fun. I'm excited for the Super Bowl. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
yeah,
Good time. February is a good month.
Is it the second weekend of February or first? Okay.
February.
I feel like it goes
11th,
back and
for
forth
sure.
sometimes.
Yeah, it depends.
Do
on
you
the year.
do you have anything planned for your birthday?
I, of course, do.
Oh.
I've had a plan for months. Just kidding. I am going to visit my sister in DC for the first time the weekend before. And then, yeah, that's about it. So, so that's like my
We'll see.
birthday gift to myself is
Okay.
going to see her. So,
That'll
Yeah.
be good.
yeah.
That'll be very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, good. Well, today we want to talk a little bit about injuries. So I feel like this could be a vast topic. We could probably have multiple episodes on injuries, but kind of want to just kickstart a little conversation and touch on what we feel are like kind of the most important points about it. So I guess to start off, did anyone here have any big injuries throughout their athletic career?
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
big is relative. I mean, it's big for you, but doesn't have to be
Yeah.
some.
In college, I started off as an ingrown toenail my freshman year, and
Tiny
then
violet.
and then weeks later, I'm out for my entire freshman outdoor season
Jeez.
because it got infected and just a whole bunch of surgery stuff, and yeah, that was kind of just annoying type
Yeah.
of injury that put me out. And then my junior year in college, I had some issues with the tendons around my knee, and so I had to get what is it, a PRP?
I got one of those too.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
It was crazy. After that, I was like, whoa, it's instant, yeah. But yeah, that's what I had.
Let's see. In high school, I got a stress fracture in my pelvis, so I had to be out for I finished my junior year of college. Sorry, junior year of high school lacrosse, but I had to sit out for a majority of my swim season. And then I had shin splints so bad in college, but one of them unfortunately turned into a stress fracture in my shin, so I had another stress fracture.
Do you not drink enough milk as a child?
I guess not. And then just a bunch of concussions, to the point where the doctors were
Ooh.
like, if you get one more, we are strongly recommending that you do not play sports
Yeah.
anymore. So
Oh man.
a lot of concussions, but other than that, no surgeries though. I'm kind of scared of surgery. I don't want to ever get it.
Yeah. I had all like lower extremity issues. So in high school, I had just probably had like regular different pains and stuff. But once I got to college, I had like the balls of my feet, like the bone in
Yeah.
there. I don't know what it was, but it was like the worst pain of my entire life. I had to get like pads, and like I couldn't walk after practices. It was like
Oh my gosh.
right on the balls of my feet, probably from jumping so much and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then I had knee issues, but I ended up figuring out in my junior year that I had a tear in my quad tendon. So not my like the tendon that connects your kneecap to your quad muscle, that there was
Yeah.
like a tear in there, and I got a PRP injection, but it took months to like
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Is that like a steroid? Like, or
so. PRP stands for platelet-rich plasma injection. So they basically, because tendons don't get blood flow, or they don't have blood, and the platelets are what, when you get a cut, the platelets cause the clotting and the
heal.
healing. So they basically drew my blood, and they took the platelets out of the blood, and then
High
they
tech.
put it
And then
in
put
a
it.
shot, and then
Yeah.
they put it right in my torn tendon.
Which,
and
yeah, a lot of times, like, people end up getting, like, a cortisone
Yeah.
shot, and that's, like, a Band-Aid kind
Temporary.
of fix, but, like, a PRP, like, actually heals, like,
Okay.
the issue.
because the tendon would just take a long time to heal, like it would, but
right.
the adding the platelets to it just accelerates the process. So yeah, same thing. That was, I mean, I was out for like all of my spring season, which was funny because at the time we didn't have a coach, so I kind of had to
So it
like
was, like-
coach our scrimmages and, like, our off season. It was really weird, but I didn't practice at all my spring season, my college year, and my junior year. But then I got that, and it was able to make it through my senior year.
That's nice.
But no shoulder issues, surprisingly, as being
That's
a kid,
nice.
which
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah. That's,
Had a couple rolled ankles, I guess, in college for
so many rolled
baseball.
ankles. Oh my God. How
I
could
bet on
forget?
crutches twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, going to class in both the spring and also the winter months. Rolled it in the spring during the season,
horrible to be on crutches.
re-rolled it again in winter workouts for baseball.
yeah.
Gosh.
So hobbling to class with crutches in the winter time
In Buffalo.
is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
No one holds the door for you. No one held the door for me. That's it.
That's funny.
No, but that was really it. It wasn't anything like too extreme. It was like out 2-3 weeks. I mean, you just can't really put too much weight on it.
Yeah.
You come back, and you just got to go through the process of healing, and
Yeah.
you eventually come back. So
I'm,
nothing too
I'm
crazy.
surprised, like, with baseball, I feel like a lot of baseball get, like, shoulder type of injuries.
They
Oh,
do.
yeah.
I was very lucky not to get
Yeah.
Tommy John or anything like that. But yeah, there's a lot of baseball, like just players, people I play with that had a lot of elbow and shoulder
Yeah.
injuries. So that is definitely normal.
big one.
That can knock you out for a
Yeah.
long time for sure. So
It's crazy how common. I
Yeah.
feel like it's interesting too that to look at the different sports and see what is common, like the injury that is common based on that sport. You know, like Tommy John is obviously known for baseball.
baseball.
What not is it softball too, or is it really just baseball more?
I have no idea with softball. I would
Yeah.
think so, possibly because they're
'Cause
still
they
they're
throw
still
it
throwing
different.
it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the underhand motion
Yeah.
Versus
changes.
the like
Versus the-
Yeah.
I'm not
'cause
sure.
Tommy John
but
is usually just with pitchers, right?
usually just with pitchers. I mean, there could be other players that still could get it, even if they're not pitchers. But it's just, yeah. I mean, everyone's elbow and arm are a little different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some are just
definitely.
more prone to. But yeah, it's a wild injury to consider like normal because it's not a comfortable injury at all. You have
Right.
to be like knocked out for a year
Yeah.
and can't pitch, can't throw, can't
Right.
move your arm very well. So
Yeah.
that's it's
Yeah.
wild.
Well, I mean, that's good aside from, I mean, the few little things we had, but I mean,
Nothing crazy.
nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Feel
Yeah.
very grateful to never have had any huge surgeries or huge like season-ending injuries in that way. But obviously, we recognize that that is a lot of people's experience, and we know a lot of people. We've worked with a lot of kids who have had very like detrimental injuries. I'm currently working with an athlete who tore her ACL last spring, and she came back probably quicker than most, but her doctors all said she was cleared, and that first day she tore her ACL again. So
Yeah.
she just got surgery, and now we're kind of working through what that recovery is going to look like. But I mean,
Same ACL or a different one?
same one.
Same one.
Yep.
Crazy.
So
Hate to see it.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I mean, actually, we've had a couple kids that we've worked with that
Yeah.
had that same situation. So I guess like we want to just talk a little bit about, first off, I guess the idea of like vocalizing your injuries and communicating them, because I feel like a lot of times, especially at a younger age, like you don't want to because, oh, you know, maybe it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be, or like I don't want to lose play time, or I don't want to get kicked off the team or not make this certain team because of my injury. All valid thoughts and all things that I can definitely understand and relate to. And a lot of times kids feel like they can play through those things. They can, you know, they don't have to go see a doctor. They don't want to see a doctor. But I guess what is your guys' take on all of that, going through your injuries, even coaching and seeing some injuries? Because obviously communicating is what you need to do. You got to let people know. You got to let your coaches know, your parents, no matter what the injury is. I think we all have a good idea of what it's the difference between being sore versus being in pain and hurt, right? So kind of learning that for yourself is important. But what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, I would say ultimately, you said it, like your mental health and your physical health as athletes is by far the most important thing, right? So no matter if it is just soreness or it is a small injury that could turn into a bigger one, like tell people, because the longer you don't tell people, the longer no one knows how to help you, right? And that goes for mental health and physical health.
Right.
And I think there have been, like, when I coach, like, I've definitely seen my fair share of coaches that aren't very receptive to that communication. Like, they kind of want athletes to push through that. So I definitely understand those circumstances when you as the athlete, maybe you don't feel as comfortable with telling your coach, but tell an assistant, tell the trainer. The trainer is your best friend, because they should be the one communicating with your coach, whatever you're comfortable with them knowing, and giving them like, hey, she is unable to do this moving forward until I say otherwise, or he is out for this many days or this many weeks, right? Like, so they should be your support system through that. But if you don't feel comfortable with them either, find a friend, find a parent, find someone that you can feel comfortable vocalizing how you're feeling physically.
Yeah, I definitely like the whole point of just telling somebody, because if you are injured or have something wrong, like just letting it go and think you're going to wake up the next day, it's not going to be there. It's just going to get worse. And you could have stopped the prolong of that injury early on and possibly seeked help, right? Rather than saying, well, this is kind of lingering, but I'm just going to wish it would go away. And more times than not, it's not going to go away.
That's exactly what happened.
You're going to cost yourself possibly a season rather than maybe like a month out.
Right.
So.
And if you're going into practice every day and you're like, you got to take Advil and you got to take ibuprofen, and it's like
a mask.
That's a red flag.
That's a red
That's a
flag.
red flag.
It shouldn't be like that. And I know, like, being an athlete, like, obviously we're constantly sore with our sport, right? Like, especially when you're in season, you're in like gearing up for your season, doing all of that strength and conditioning, all of the things that you do. Like, yeah, you're gonna be sore, like, as athletes, like, we get that. But you ultimately know where that line is, and if it crosses that line of like, this is actually painful, just tell someone. Like, find that help to. Yeah, because it could get a lot worse.
Yeah, think of your future self and just, I mean, you don't know what the future looks like, and don't like worry too much on that, but like, yeah, you don't want to take yourself out for the whole entire next year for the different sports season or whatever it is. It's just, it's not worth it. You are so much more than what that sports season is giving you, and you have so much more that you want to accomplish throughout your life.
Yeah.
I'm sure these are all things that people have said to you, so hopefully hearing from someone else is helpful. I do think, though, an interesting point, because I know in another podcast, I think Coach Michael brought it up, but like this idea of using your pains and your injuries to like get out of practice, and it may not be as bad as you know, it really is, but you're just like, oh, coach, my shoulder hurts today, I don't think I can practice, because you just don't feel like practicing. I think that's a little obviously of a different situation. And I guess I just want to address that, because I think injuries can also be used as kind of like a scapegoat type situation. And I think at the end of the day, like, you really have to evaluate, okay, if I'm trying to get out of practice here, like, what the heck am I doing here? Why am I showing up? Why am I playing this sport at whatever level it is? But I guess, have you guys ever had that or had that thought or had an athlete kind of say that to you?
Teammates of mine, we, I'm not gonna lie, we would always know those people. Like, she's literally sitting out, and she'll be, I remember one girl specifically was like on crutches and then would like go out later and just go and be in heels and be running around.
Crutches.
And we're like, how does this happen? Like, well, you're magically fine. So we know those people, but I think, in my opinion, like, that was never a shock to me with those people, because I already saw their commitment level wasn't maybe like
True.
where mine was or where I felt like they should be. But I think, Emily, that's such a good point. Like, that's okay. Like, and I think maybe those people are, for some reason, feel pushed to play the sport or don't want to let it go or whatever. But I think having that honest conversation with yourself, if you do feel like that's resonating with you, of like, yeah, I definitely try to sit out. I try to get out of conditioning. I try to get out of the hard things in my sport. Then maybe it's not a right fit for you, right? Maybe you don't want to sign up for all the good and bad times, because there are bad times or hard times and tough times that you go through in your sport. It's not all rainbows and sunshine all the time. So I think, like, making sure you have that honest conversation, I think that's a really good point. So more of my teammates I've seen that with. But.
And I think too, like, I feel like that's part of the reason why coaches might be a little hard on athletes, because they see the ones who are just trying to, like, get out of practice. Like, there's really nothing that big, there's athletes like that, and coaches see that. And so I feel like a lot of reasons why coaches are pushing you to, like, practice and pushing you to work through that is because they already have that, like stereotype of, like, oh, you're just trying to get out of practice.
Boy
like,
who cried wolf type
Yeah,
situation.
right, yeah.
So
Which is unfortunate.
it is. No, I agree. And again, don't at the end of the day, you know yourself, and don't let that type of stereotype or mentality prevent you from expressing what you feel is going on with yourself. Even maybe the coach won't believe you at first, maybe they're going to shut you down, but, like, keep at that and keep advocating for yourself.
Yeah, and maybe it isn't that serious of an injury. Maybe it is just soreness. But I think being like proactive rather than reactive, I think, is more better, because you're like, hey, just kidding, I took a day off of practice and I actually feel a lot better. Like, I think I'm good, or like the trainer said I'm good. Like, that's so much better than pushing through, and then regretting everything that you just did.
Something.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, all good thoughts. And I think it's just important to address all of that kind of in an intro piece. But I think kind of shifting to an idea of, like, okay, you are injured. That initial reaction, that initial piece, like, I think I always tell my athletes that are going through any type of injury, like, this is a grief period.
Yeah.
Like, you are going through the stages of grief. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be frustrated. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to, like, bargain and be like, why did this happen to me? And I think a lot of times, like, depending on what your injury is, whenever the moment happens, like, you get all of your teammates running up. It's a big emotional moment. And then it's like everyone kind of goes back to their own lives and doing their own things. But you're like, well, I'm still hurt. Like, this still sucks for me. And it's hard for, like, finding that support, or just, like, feeling like you can work through that injury in itself. So I think we just kind of want to touch on a little bit of, like, our pointers to help through that time, depending on the level. But I guess I just always feel like making sure that it's okay to grieve that. It's okay to grieve that loss or that change in your life and all of that. Like, grief doesn't just have to be around losing a person or, an animal or somebody. Like, grief can happen in so many different forms, and I don't think we always take the time to think through that, especially if it happens, like, in our athletic careers. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I mean, and I think sometimes, like, that's why athletes push themselves, is like, if they have the championship game coming up, or if they have, like, that big sorry,
is that a fly?
The dog also seen it too. He saw it first, and then
Where is it?
I don't know. Okay.
At least it wasn't a stink bug. That one. Or a don't even spider. Oh,
it's the racing machine.
But
okay,
I forgot what I was saying.
Resume.
No, I think that's a big reason why, like, athletes push themselves, is because they don't want to miss, like, that part of their season. They don't want to miss out on those opportunities.
And all the work that you've done.
and all the work that
right?
you've put in for that. But yeah, it is like when you get to that point where it's like you're injured, you're out, like there's no going in, and you have to grieve like all of that time, all of that work that went in, and now you can't finish your season, all of that work throughout the season, and now you miss like the biggest game of the year kind of thing. Like that sucks. It does. Like I know just with my toe thing my freshman year, they went to the Nike campus out in Oregon, and they went to a meet out there, which is, for track runners, that's like the biggest
coolest thing
stage.
ever.
Yes. And that was the only year that we went to that meet, and I was out that season because of an ingrown toenail. Still mad about it, but it's okay. But you have to acknthough that it sucks.
Yeah. It does.
I think like a tip that I have for that too, like even though my rolled ankle, 2 stints of it was like 3 weeks long each, you think you just have to take it like day by day rather than looking at it as like, oh, this is a 3 week or 4 week or 1 month, 2 month injury. I feel like if I would have looked at that injury as that, it would just been easy to just say, well, this sucks, and why should I rehab? I miss all this time. Well, what's the point, right? So I feel like just taking it day by day, seeing the trainer every day, doing whatever he or she has to say or whatever they have for you that day. I think if you do your exercises and stuff you need to do, the weeks do seem to go by faster than anticipated, and sometimes you do recover earlier. So I wouldn't always say like the first diagnosis of your injury is like they might tell you, it might be, hey, you might be out for this long, but you never know, you might recover earlier. So just take it day by day.
But that's a good piece too, because like when you're injured, like treating your recovery as your practice that day, like treating it as like this is part of my training so that I can get back to where I was whenever this heals. Like that's a good way to look at it.
And I know like when I was injured in college with my stress fracture, I would use practice time because we had to be there, we had to be watching, but I would use it as an opportunity to just like learn as much as I possibly can. I'd watch, I would study film, like it was, so taking my PT as my practice, but also like at practice when everyone else is actually physically working and doing that stuff, like my mind was mentally working, right? And I was trying to learn. I was a junior at the time, so I was an upperclassman, but like I would pull girls to the side and be like, hey, I saw this. Like, I saw this. That was really good. Next time this girl was open, right? Like I would also kind of not be a coach per se, but like just help assist and help my brain work. So when I was ready to go back on the field, I took all that time to mentally prepare my brain to get back out there and know the plays, know the systems, just know everything from a mental standpoint, I guess.
Right. Yeah, you're learning your sport from a totally different perspective
Exactly.
when you're injured, and it can prove to have a lot of benefits when you get back into your sport because you've seen it from a different point of view.
Yeah.
I think it's a great point too. Like even when you're injured, like you're still on the team. You can still show up to practice.
Yes.
Like I would hope that whatever coach you have like still allows you to show up to practice games. They should. I don't see why not. So you're still a part of the team. You just have to rehab or do things a different way. You can't practice always with the team. You have something that you have to do on your own, but you can still show up, still interact with your teammates. You know, as I was injured, it wasn't like I didn't see anybody for 3 weeks. Like I see my teammates every day. So yeah.
I will say though, it is easy to isolate yourself when you are injured. So first off, athletes who are injured or whoever have experienced injuries or will in the future, like try to push yourself even when you don't want to be with your teammates or don't want to be with friends. Like push yourself to not isolate yourself because it's just gonna mentally definitely damage you from a perspective. And then also teammates, please show that you care, support, be there. Like as much as you were right when the injury started, like you said, Emily, like do it continuously through. Just let them know that you are there for them no matter what. I think that's more maybe for girls per se, but maybe not. But I think it's team to team maybe. Like just depends on the dynamic.
Yeah, and I think like you said, like it's easy to fall into that isolation because I think too, like at the collegiate level, sometimes like coming from a coach, like if they know that you're going to be out for the season, they have to focus on the people who are playing and who will and who will be in those spots. And so sometimes like that coach to athlete relationship feels like a little more distanced because he's focusing on everyone who needs to compete that season, and he's letting you kind of like go do your recovery, like go off do that. So it's really easy to like fall into that isolation, and especially like that was the hardest part that I remember is like I would be like on the bike or on the elliptical watching like everyone else practice. And it's like it hurts, but as soon as like practice is over, as soon as I'm done with what I had to do, it was like, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna stretch, and I'm gonna go do core with my teammates, and I'm gonna go to dinner with them, and like still be as in it as I can.
Yeah, I think it's really just, I mean, we've talked about routines on here a lot in different with other topics, but it's like you just have to change your routine. You have to see it in a different light. Like just because, you're not getting up, going to lift, going to practice, like now you're getting up, you're going to PT, you're still going to practice, but you have a different role. And I think even too, I've had so many conversations with my injured athletes of like, you know, they'll tell me, I just don't feel like I'm part of the team anymore. Like I just am not on the team. And I'm like, whoa. Yes, you are. Like you didn't get kicked off the roster. You didn't get, you may not have the same play time because you just obviously can't, but like you have to create this new role for yourself. So I really like how you mentioned that too, of like, you know, go out there, be that kind of assistant in a different way, especially even if you're a lower classman, it doesn't matter. Like just being able to give any of that feedback and just really kind of force yourself to be that integrated part. But yeah, your role is going to change and that's okay. But it's how you choose to change it and how you choose to like really accept this new role and this new routine. But I think finding that routine for yourself, if it's going to take you an extra 20 minutes to crutch to breakfast, like
it took a while. I'll tell you right now. Dorm room to dining hall.
Did you have stairs or an elevator?
It did have an elevator,
okay,
but
well, that's
to walk
good.
across the campus is
tough.
It doesn't make it suck any less, but it's just like a change in what you're doing and being like, okay, this is just what I got to do for this period of time, whether it's weeks or months. But again, it's like just that you have to be intentional with it, and you have to be like, okay, what am I taking out of this? Do I want to just sit here and wallow? Because you can, and you probably should for a little bit, just to kind of get out of your system. There are periods of time where that'll hit you, but like you have to decide, okay, what is this worth? Is it worth being this down and this mopey, or what can I do to actively make this a beneficial season for what I want it to be?
And I will say too, like people who have been injured and they do like all of this recovery, all of the PT, and you do like different exercises to like get yourself back to where you are, that actually helped me a lot when I wasn't injured to like keep up with those exercises so that I wouldn't re-injure myself. And it like with my toe stuff, like I had to do like a lot of like foot exercises and like moving like all the muscles and my ankles and things like that. So I never rolled my ankle when I would go out running, and so all of those things that you're doing like while injured, seeing it as like a benefit of like, okay, I can do this even when I come back into my sport, because this will just prevent me from not getting re-injured.
Right.
That's a really good point.
But I know too, I've had a lot of kids say that like, oh, I'm fearful that, you know, I'm gonna get injured again, or I'm fearful that this is gonna happen again. And it's all those like what ifs. And I know while injured, because you maybe aren't practicing as much or taking as much time, you have a lot more time to be thinking, and a lot more time to just like, which could be a benefit, right? To be able to create some visualization and work on that mental side. But it can also be very stressful of like, oh my gosh, what if this happens again? What if I go through all this rehab and then the same thing happens? And like I was saying in the beginning, I unfortunately have a girl who literally just retore her ACL, and she's deathly afraid of when she comes back, is it going to happen again? Is it going to happen to my other ACL? Like, what is that going to be like? And so obviously breaking out those fears and talking through them. But again, I think the biggest piece is like knowing what you're doing in your rehab to control, like what controllables do you have? You are building your body to be stronger. If it already has happened again, what are you doing differently this time? What are you going to change this time to make sure that it doesn't happen again? And I think there is a piece of just like a little bit of acceptance of like, you can't control the future. Right. You have no idea what's going to happen. And if it's not worth it to you to continue that sport or to continue to see if that's something that could happen, like then that's what you got to evaluate and figure out for yourself. Maybe it's not worth it, and that's okay. But I think like I really want to just impress on like how those fears are definitely going to be there. And just like a trauma coming from it, honestly.
Nothing, no matter who you are, what athlete you are, what sport you play, if you've been injured, if you haven't, like nothing is guaranteed. It does. You could walk outside and sprain your ankle. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter what the situation is. It is nothing is guaranteed, and you could tear your ACL again. That is definitely a thing. But you've gotten through it before. You are strong. And honestly, the fact that you got it through the first time, you know how to do it better the second time, or what you need better, or what you don't need to go into that. So going back to what Frances kept saying, it sucks. Bottom line is it sucks.
Yeah.
But you are strong and you will get through it, but also use the support that you are given or find support if you need it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh no.
But yeah, so I think, I mean, fears are such a challenging thing to talk about just because it's all hypothetical and it's all like you just don't know. But I think at the end of the day, just like having that honest conversation and just being aware of those fears and talking through them, and then figuring out what you need to feel confident and in control to the best of your ability.
And it Davey.
Yeah, something to say.
Yeah. And it is okay. Oh.
Please don't throw up on me. It's okay.
How old is that dog? Anyone know?
I would guess 5 or 6. I don't know.
It is okay too. Like if you feel like you cannot overcome that fear and it is time to just hang up the cleats, hang up the jersey. That's okay too.
Yeah.
That is the end of your story. That is the end of your chapter, and that is very much okay.
Yeah.
100%. I think the one other piece that I kind of want to finish up with to impress on is this idea of, like Carly, you mentioned that visualization piece of being at practice. You know, I have so many kids that say like, "Ugh, I just sit there. It's so boring. Like, I don't even want to go to practice, blah, blah, blah," which can come from many other reasons. But you said it exactly right of like, you can take that practice. We've already talked about visualization a little bit in another podcast, but like that is one of the prime times to use visualization as well.
100%. Yes.
Use that as your training. You know, I've always said like, our bodies are crazy in a sense of if you are trying to learn a new skill and you don't physically practice it at all, like give it 1 month, 2 months, and you just visualize that skill, you are going to walk out on the court, the field, the track, and your body's going to have the confidence to try it and do it well because you've seen yourself do it so many times.
Yeah.
Can't explain why that happens, but our brains are crazy.
Yeah.
But that like imaging and that visualization, you telling your brain and seeing things and watching things, and that does so much for our development and just the way that we are successful physically.
I think when I was injured, like when I came to the realization that I can get better in my sport even if I'm not physically doing anything, that was like the biggest breakthrough for me. And my coach always stressed to our entire team, like, if you are injured, you need to stay engaged in some way, right? Engaged in the team, engaged in practice, engaged in watching. Like, you're not gonna go sit over there on your phone. You're not gonna go over there and sit do your homework while everyone else is practicing. Like, you're still a part of this team. And I felt like that made such a world of difference for me of like, if I ever do get injured, I'm still a part of this team. I still can get better day by day, just maybe not physically at this moment, or maybe it's just the rehab perspective, right? Yeah. So I 100% agree. And I feel like maybe without me even knowing it, I was doing that visualization piece, and I was just studying and watching and seeing what I would do if I was out on that field. But I remember going from that season to senior year, and everyone's like, holy crap, you were injured, they were like, you really grew. And I'm like, yeah, I just watched a lot, I studied a lot, I watched a lot of film, and so it was cool to see like you can still progress, grow, and get better at your sport even if you're not physically doing it.
Yeah after I went through that grief period of being injured my freshman year, and that was my biggest tool, is like using visualization and like just pretending that I'm out there with the girls, like doing the workout, like I know what that feels like being there, but like also like the difference between like that first person and third person perspective. And I came back my sophomore year and had my best year ever. So it's like there are things that you can do mentally while you're physically injured that can bring you back 10 times stronger. Visualization, and again, as you said, watching film, there's
and there's probably others too. I'm just not thinking of right now. There's a lot of things you can do that aren't always you physically doing your sport, but can really help you in your sport.
Yeah.
So I really like the film piece too. I kind of forgot about that, but I do remember doing that now, watching that. So
Yeah, I think
that's
my
good.
huddle hours were like a million hours. Like my coach was
Huddle.
like, "Oh, I
Oh
see
my
what you've been
God.
doing." I'm like, "Yeah," during class,
Wow.
like watching huddle film. Like,
That is an
Sorry,
old,
coach.
yeah, huddle.
but I think any coaches listening to this, like, I do think you set the stage. You know, if you can impress that, like, hey, we are so upset you aren't here. We are going to miss you on the field or on the court or running, whatever that is. Like, but you still are going to make an impact on this team. You still can grow. Like, I just think that made a world of difference for me personally. So any coaches listening, if you can echo that too, because I know who here has a athlete that's injured that's struggling through that right now.
I had someone who just come back from an injury, but
Yep.
yeah.
So it's so common. You are not alone through that.
Yeah, just that validation with it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And I know for coaches, like it's so hard to be like a parent with and just present with all of your athletes because they're all going through different pieces and stages. But I think again, if you're signing up to be a coach, take the time
part
to do
of
it.
it.
It's
Yeah.
part of it, and like that is a lot for them. And this is a period of time that athlete is gonna remember, and it's gonna shape them into who they're gonna be as a person, whether it's in their sport or just in their lives. And so I think just understanding your role as the coach for them, super important. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. That's good.
Any other? I feel like those are kind of the biggest things.
Yeah.
I agree.
Good overview of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, we're not sitting here trying to make it out like it's so easy to get through an injury. Like these are all things like visualization, that grief period, all of it is hard.
Yes.
It's going to take a long time to, not a long time, but it can take time to get used to that, to adjust to that, to feel like it is beneficial for you and you are learning and getting stuff out of it. But like, we're just sitting here giving you some tools and some thoughts and more or less, hopefully some just validation that like what you're going through is hard and that there's ways that you can make it better if you want to, because it's all up to your choice at the end of the day.
Definitely.
Cool.
Cool.
All right.
Any other thoughts and other things?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Everyone stay safe out there this winter. We've
Yeah.
gotten, don't be twisting ankles out on the ice or snow, depending on where. Here in Ohio, we just had a huge ice snowstorm last
Oh
week,
my
so it was a
gosh.
bit treacherous. But
Yeah.
And it was 10 degrees and now it's 50.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what is Ohio?
Welcome to Ohio.
Oh, God.
so be safe. Kind of again, meet yourself where you're at. Take some time if you need, whatever it is. But hopefully, I feel like we're in the middle of winter sports season, so hopefully everybody's doing well and getting ready for their playoffs if you're in a winter sport.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
All right, we will see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like what you're listening to, be sure to follow the Athlete Cafe on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can find us wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts.